I paid my parents' utility bills for a year, $4,750 total. At dinner, my dad said I was too selfish. I told him he'd feel that selfishness when the lights go out next week. For the past year, I've been quietly paying my parents' utility bills. Every month, around $395, electricity, water, gas, even internet when they couldn't make ends meet. It wasn't something I bragged about or mentioned often. I just did it because they're my parents. Because I thought family helped each other out. All in all, that added up to $4,750 this year alone. I'm 29. I rent a small apartment, work long hours, and live paycheck to paycheck most months. But I still made sure my parents were comfortable. My dad's retired, my mom only works part-time, and they've had a rough few years financially. I never expected a thank you. I just wanted some decency. Last week, they invited me over for a family dinner. It was one of those formal things, table set, candles lit, my brother and his wife there too. My brother, by the way, hasn't helped them financially once. He earns double what I do but always says, I have kids, you don't. Anyway, we were sitting there eating roast beef when my dad raised his glass. He said, you know, I'm proud of this family. Everyone contributes in their own way, except some people could do more if they weren't so selfish. He looked directly at me. The table went quiet. My mom gave a nervous little laugh. My brother smirked. I asked, what do you mean, selfish? Dad shrugged. You've always been about yourself. You could help more around here, visit more, maybe help fix things up. Your brother has been amazing this year, always checking in. My brother checked in maybe twice this year. But sure. Something inside me snapped. I've spent months cutting corners so I could afford their bills. I skipped vacations, meals out, even replaced my own broken washing machine months late because their power bill was due. And I was being called selfish? So I raised my glass too. I smiled and said, you know what, Dad? You're right. I could have done more. But don't worry, you'll get a taste of that selfishness next week when the lights go out. His smile vanished instantly. What's that supposed to mean? He asked. I set my glass down and said, calmly, it means the automatic payments for your utilities stop tomorrow. You and Mom are adults, you can handle it. My brother started laughing like it was a joke. I said, I'm serious. Check your accounts. The bills are under my name, and I've cancelled every autopay. The room went dead silent. My mom looked shocked. My dad's face turned red. He muttered, you can't just stop. We'll be behind. I cut him off. You called me selfish. So, I'll finally live up to that. Then I stood up, said goodnight, and left. 3 days later, my mom texted asking if I was still upset. I replied. No. I'm fine. Just being selfish, remember? She sent a sad emoji. Then last night, my brother called. Apparently, their electricity provider already sent a warning notice. He said, come on, man, they're our parents. Just pay it one more time. I told him, you earn more than I do. Step up. He cursed and hung up. Here's the thing, I don't feel guilty. I did more than enough for a long time. My father used to lecture me about responsibility, about being a man and taking care of family. But responsibility goes both ways, respect should too. I'm tired of being the quiet provider who gets treated like a disappointment. So yes, maybe I'm selfish now. But if that's what it takes to stop being used, then fine, I'll wear it proudly. Next week, when the lights go out, maybe my dad will finally realize who's been keeping them on all along. I paid my parents' utility bills for a year, they called me selfish, so I stopped. Now they're learning what that really means. It's been 3 weeks since that dinner. And let's just say, the lights going out wasn't just a metaphor anymore. When I wrote my first post, I honestly didn't expect it to blow up. I just needed to vent. But seeing so many people say, "You did the right thing," helped me realize something: I wasn't crazy for wanting respect. And now that everything's unfolded, I'm even more sure I made the right call. Week 1, the fallout. The day after I canceled all payments, I got a few "testing the waters" messages. Mom: "Hey, did you mean what you said about the utilities?" Me: "Yes." Mom: "Okay, we'll figure it out." That was it. No apology. No gratitude. Just, "We'll figure it out." 2 days later, my brother texted me. "Mom says they got a late payment warning. You're really gonna let them sit in the dark?" I responded. "They called me selfish. So I'm focusing on myself." He replied with a thumbs down emoji and stopped texting. Then, last Thursday, my dad called me. I hadn't heard his voice since that dinner. His tone was calm, too calm. That fake calmness he used when he wanted to manipulate me. He said, "Son, I think we both said some things we didn't mean." I asked, "Which things, exactly?" He hesitated. "The selfish comment." I was out of line. "But you know, we're family. You can't just walk away over one dinner." That's when I told him, "Dad, it wasn't one dinner. It's been years of me paying, helping, and being treated like I'm never enough." He sighed and said, "Fine. If that's how you feel, we'll figure things out without you." Click. Call ended. Week 2, the silence. Silence. That's the best way to describe it. No calls. No texts. Nothing. I honestly thought they'd manage somehow. My mom's part-time income could at least cover some of the bills, and my brother could help if he wanted. Then I found out what was really happening, from my aunt. She called me out of the blue and said, "Your dad was at our house yesterday. He was asking if we could lend him money for the power bill. Apparently, he told everyone in the extended family that I cut them off without warning, and that I was being vindictive." My aunt asked what happened, so I told her everything. The dinner, the selfish remark, the $4,750, all of it. She went quiet for a moment, then said softly, "Honey, you've done enough. They've always been proud in the wrong ways." It was the first time someone in my family had said that out loud. Week 3, the lights go out. Last Sunday, my brother finally called again. He started with, "You happy now? Their power got shut off yesterday." I didn't respond right away. He continued, "They're sitting there with candles, no AC, no fridge. You made your point. Turn it back on." I asked, "You do realize I'm not obligated to fix their mess anymore, right?" He snapped. "You're unbelievable. You think you're better than everyone because you paid some bills. You're just proving Dad right." That hit me, not because it was true, but because that's how deep the brainwashing runs in my family. No matter what I do, I'm always the problem. So I said, "If you're so concerned, use some of that 6-figure salary to help them. You can Venmo them right now." He hung up. The turning point. 2 nights later, my mom showed up at my apartment. It was pouring rain. She looked exhausted, dark circles, damp coat, the works. She didn't even say hello. She just asked, "Why are you doing this to us?" I motioned for her to come in, gave her a towel, and said, "I'm not doing anything to you. I just stopped doing everything for you." She sat down and started crying quietly. She told me Dad refused to ask my brother for help because he's got a family. She said she'd been paying small parts of the bills but fell behind quickly. Then she looked at me and said something that I'll never forget. "Your father doesn't understand how much you've done for us. He's too proud to admit it." I asked if she understood. She nodded. I do now. I wish I'd said something sooner. We sat in silence for a long time. I finally told her I'd help again if things changed, but not by just throwing money at the problem. No more silent payments. No more being treated like the family failure. If they wanted help, we'd sit down together, go through their expenses, and make a budget plan. And I wanted acknowledgement, not worship, just basic respect. She agreed. The call that changed everything. The next day, my dad called again. This time, his tone was different. He didn't sound angry, he sounded defeated. He said, "Your mother told me what you said. You're right. I shouldn't have called you selfish. I didn't say anything." Then he said something that nearly floored me. "I'm proud of you. You've done more for us than I ever expected. I just didn't want to admit I needed your help." That's my dad, old school, stubborn, allergic to vulnerability. He went on, "If you're still willing to help, maybe we can figure something out together." And you know what? For the first time in a long time, it didn't sound manipulative. It sounded real. Now. It's been almost a month since that dinner. The power's back on, this time under their account, not mine. My dad actually went to the utility office and set up his own payment plan. My brother? Still silent. Apparently, he's angry that I made dad grovel. I don't care. I stopped paying their bills directly, but I've been helping them differently, teaching my mom how to manage online payments, showing them how to cut down expenses, even helping dad apply for a senior discount program. I didn't want to abandon them. I just wanted boundaries. And for once, they're starting to respect them. When I raised that glass at dinner and told my dad he'd feel my selfishness, I didn't realize how true that would become, not because I cut them off, but because they finally had to feel what life was like without taking me for granted. Now, when my dad calls, he doesn't start with complaints. He starts with, "How are you doing, son?" It's small. But it's progress. And I think that's worth more than any bill I've ever paid. It's been 6 months since I last posted. Honestly, I didn't think there'd be more to say, but things didn't stop there. Once the lights came back on, the real power struggle began. Because when you take away control from people who've always depended on you, and they suddenly have to depend on themselves, it changes everything. For the first time in years, I'm not the quiet son who just pays, nods, and leaves. I'm the one who finally said, "No more." And that shook my entire family. 1. My brother's meltdown. Let's start with my brother, Eric. After my last post, he completely ghosted me. Didn't call for birthdays, holidays, nothing. My mom mentioned once that he was disappointed in me, which, translated from family language, means angry that you made me look bad. But about a month ago, he called. Out of nowhere. He said, "Hey man, I heard you've been helping mom and dad with their budget. Good for you." It sounded nice, until the next sentence. "So listen, since you're so good with money, can you help me with mine?" I thought he was joking. He wasn't. Turns out he and his wife had maxed out a few credit cards and were struggling with their mortgage. I said, "Eric, you make 6 figures. You'll be fine." He said, "Yeah, but you're the responsible one now. You owe it to family to help." That word again, owe. I told him calmly, "No, I don't owe anyone anything. I learned that the hard way." He hung up. Again. That call was the moment I realized that my family didn't just see me as the good son. They saw me as a resource, something to draw from when it was convenient, and to insult when it wasn't. Never again. 2. My dad's second apology. After everything, my dad and I actually began talking regularly. He called me once a week. Mostly about normal stuff. Weather, news, random stories. Nothing deep. But then, one night about a month ago, he brought it up again. He said, "I've been thinking about what happened. The dinner." What I said. I told him I'd already forgiven him. But he said, "You shouldn't have had to." I was cruel because I felt ashamed. Then he admitted something I didn't expect. "When you started helping with the bills, it made me feel useless. Like I'd failed as a father. Instead of thanking you, I lashed out." That was a moment. For decades, my dad was this unshakable rock, proud, traditional, emotionally bulletproof. Hearing him say that broke something open. He said, "You were never selfish. You just stopped letting us take you for granted." I respect that now. And I swear, if I hadn't been sitting down, I might have fallen over. 3. Mom's quiet transformation. My mom has changed the most. She's gone from, "we'll figure it out," to actually figuring it out. She started tracking every expense, cutting unnecessary subscriptions, even calling the power company herself when there was an overcharge, something she used to make me do. She told me, "I didn't realize how much I leaned on you until you stopped letting me." Now, she thanks me every time I visit. Not for money, but for showing her how to manage without me. Last month, she even handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $600, a small repayment for the bills I'd covered before. I didn't cash it. I told her the gesture was enough. But I won't lie, seeing her want to repay me meant more than any apology. 4. The family gathering. 2 weeks ago, we had our first full family dinner since that fateful night. I almost didn't go, but my mom begged me, and she promised no surprises. When I walked in, the atmosphere was different. No tension, no smug comments. Just quiet, cautious warmth. My dad was grilling outside. He greeted me with a handshake instead of a lecture. My brother avoided eye contact most of the night, but his wife was surprisingly friendly. Then, halfway through dinner, my dad raised his glass again. For a moment, I froze, memories of that last toast flashing back. But this time, he said, "I want to toast my son, for being the man I should have been sooner. You taught this family what responsibility really looks like." I swear, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. My mom teared up instantly. My brother forced a smile, but didn't say anything. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. 5. A different kind of family now. Since then, things have been peaceful. My parents haven't asked for money once. They budget, they pay, and they even check in on me. My dad told me he started doing small handyman jobs for neighbors again, just for some extra cash. My mom finally booked a dental appointment she'd been putting off for years. And me? I've started putting that $395 a month I used to spend on their bills into a savings account. It's weird having extra money again, like learning to breathe deeper. Sometimes I still feel guilty. Guilt doesn't disappear overnight when you've spent years being the responsible one. But now I know the difference between helping and being used. 6. The last conversation that closed the loop. Last night, my dad called me again. Just to talk. But before hanging up, he said, "I think I understand what you were trying to teach us. You didn't abandon us, you gave us a chance to stand up on our own." Then he laughed softly. Guess it just took the lights going out to open my eyes. We both laughed at that one. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the son trying to earn approval. I felt like his equal. So, what did I learn? That selfish isn't always a bad word. Sometimes it just means putting yourself back where you belong, not at the bottom of the family's priorities, but as an equal part of it. My parents have grown. I've healed. My brother's still figuring things out, and that's okay. The lights are on now, literally and metaphorically. And they'll stay on, even if I'm not the one paying the bill anymore. The night the house finally felt like home again. It's been almost a year since that dinner, the one where my father called me selfish, and I promised he'd feel it when the lights go out. A lot can happen in a year. People can change. Or maybe they finally show who they always were once the excuses run out. My parents are doing fine now. The bills are paid on time, the house looks cared for again, and for the first time in a long while, I visit because I want to, not because I'm needed to fix something. Last week, Mom invited me over for dinner again. Same dining room. Same table. But this time, it felt lighter. She made my favorite meal, Dad cracked jokes, and there wasn't that heavy silence we used to drown in. After dinner, Dad poured me a drink and said quietly, "You know, son, that night, when you said I'd feel your selfishness, you were right. But it wasn't selfishness. It was strength. You forced me to wake up. I didn't know what to say. For once, I didn't need to." He lifted his glass again, the same way he did a year ago, but instead of bitterness in his eyes, there was pride. "To my son," he said. "The man who kept the lights on, even after he stopped paying the bill." Mom laughed through tears, and even my brother, sitting quietly at the other end of the table, smiled. It wasn't about money anymore. It wasn't about power or pride. It was about finally understanding each other. When I left that night, the porch light was on, glowing warm, steady, peaceful. And for the first time, I realized something simple. I didn't turn those lights back on. They did. And that's exactly how it should be.